Our boss for Zone D is this giant robot that has 2 yellow lights in his chest, which are his weak spot. You can launch the red ball at him and immediately catch it again, but keep launching it consistently at him in order to defeat him in actually only a few seconds. Do your best to try to avoid the balls that are falling from the ceiling, as you'll always have a big gap in between a couple of them to sneak by so you don't take any damage. When you begin Zone E, be careful not to stand on the different colored wood, as it will fall, and if you step on it at any point, you will take damage. Do your best to avoid the cocoon enemies, and then be very careful of the bugs that are hiding in the bushes. You can see their eyes, but when you get close to them, they jump out. They hop twice, and then walk straight, so if you're going to try to jump over them, wait for their second hop to end, before attempting to make your jump over. Once you get over here, hit the big box to make a boat appear in the water. Throw away your box so that you actually can control the boat. Move it over to the right side to get to the next area where another big box, in which case we now have a hammer. Pick it up and use your throw button in order to use the hammer to break apart this wall. You can also use the hammer as a weapon to defeat any of the doppelganger boxes that get in your way as you get towards the door. Once you enter the door, though, you will lose the hammer. In this area, be careful not to get sucked in to end up in the sand pit with that bug enemy. You can grab an extra life from that box right there if you need to. Enter this door to fight the next boss's flying fish enemy that throws lightning bolts at you. You can either throw the ball left and right when he's too low, or you can just launch it straight up at him when he's too high for you to be able to throw it at him. His only projectiles are 2 lightning bolts, which are pretty easy to dodge. As Zone F begins, we have different pits that we have to jump over, with giant iron balls falling from the ceiling. Take your time and just make sure you make your jumps when one of the iron balls has disappeared. In the next part, we have iron balls that are rolling on the top part, so be sure to stay on the lower 2 levels to avoid most of them. In this area, you're going to have to wait for the platforms to slowly emerge from each wall before you can begin your way up. In this area, just take your time and use any of the boxes that are out there in order to propel yourself a little bit higher to make sure that you can reach your platforms. When you reach the top, that's the end of Zone F. Next up is Zone G, which is Fat Cat's Casino, so maybe we can finally save Gadget and defeat Fat Cat. As I begin this stage, I like to head to the upper portion, as any enemy up there will jump, taking them off screen and eliminating them. When we get here, stay on the top portion and jump over each of the moving things in order to get past them, and be able to collect a whole lot of flowers on your way down to the next door. In this area, be careful of the rhinos that are running and charging, knocking boxes all around. For the most part, though, they're easy to deal with because you can either jump over them or throw one box at them in order to defeat them. In this portion, I usually like to hang around the bottom area because I like to deal with the football players more so than the bugs. In this area, just take your time jumping over the football players and throwing any boxes needed in order to get any enemies that get in your path. When we reach the end, make the long jump over the gap in order to enter the door to fight the boss of the stage. For this boss, stay in between the 2 spikes so you don't travel too far left or right, so you don't take any unnecessary damage, and do your best to avoid the coins as they come out. Just do your best to launch out the projectile during periods of time where the coins aren't falling down directly on you. So you can see, while we save Gadget, we still have to hunt down Fat Cat as he's made his escape. We jump into a rocket which launches straight up into the air and then slowly falls back down, but all of a sudden the levels are now different as we have 3 more stages in order to get to Fat Cat. Zone H takes place inside the sewer. Do your best to try to avoid the crab enemies as they can take up a large amount of space on screen, and in these tight areas they can be a little bit of a pain. Work your way up and be careful of the ninjas that we first saw in Zone B, as they start to fly in from the sides left and right. Here, be sure to take out the enemies as you make your way over these large gaps so you don't accidentally take any damage and fall into any of the pits. Here we have some more of the doppelgangers that will transform into you as they move back and forth on the platform, as well as the bears that throw out their projectiles. On the top area though, as you can see, for the most part, any of the projectiles the bears throw out get taken away because they're taken off screen. When you reach the end though, that's the end of Zone H. In Zone I, we have one of the more annoying enemies in the game, these pelicans, that you have to actually hit in the legs with boxes. If you throw them at their heads, they end up eating it and launching it back at you. Another problem with this stage is these large fans that are going to blow you away. Slowly make your way towards them, and then when you get on top of them, you're going to still be slow for a few seconds, but be careful that you're not holding the button too hard, as you may accidentally walk off the platform and either into a pit or hit some spikes. Do your best to take out the pelicans from a distance before making your way up to the platform. In this area we have table lamps and telephones all laying around, as well as more mechanical mice from the first stage of the game. The good news for us though, there's a large box that contains Zipper, so that we can get through this area rather quickly. Just be careful that you're not standing on a spike when Zipper disappears so that you don't take any damage from that. When you reach the end, it's time for our next boss battle. This large caterpillar that breaks apart into many pieces as they bounce around. Every time you hit him though, he will only break apart in the middle. So, hit him, standing direct middle of the screen, in order to easily avoid all of his projectiles that bounce around. As you can see, stand in the middle and then just go left or right real quick after they bounce once in order to avoid them. Zone J is the final level of the game and contains our final boss battle with Fat Cat. This level is full of conveyor belts, as well as these bugs that charge at you as soon as they reach eye level with you. So try to do your best and take your time on the conveyor belt so you don't charge too far ahead and run into any of the enemies head on. In this area, we have some weasel gangsters that are going to throw plungers at you. If you go around the area in the pattern I did, you should be able to avoid all the weasels. Here we have to deal with some axes that are moving back and forth. Jump on them when the axe is on the far left side in order to jump over it and avoid taking damage. When you get here, stand right next to these boxes as the two enemies will just walk right over you and you'll avoid having to actually deal with them.